Can I just, before we do commence the business on the agenda, just draw two matters to everybody's attention. The item in red at the top of the agenda, I'd just like to highlight that there have been secret recordings, clandestine recordings that are subsequently published. I would invite the sound engineer, if he or she wants to place the microphone somewhere more public so that it can make a clearer recording. Does anybody wish to do that? And is everybody content that there may be a recording in this meeting? Have no objections? The other item is under matters arising, members. The ALF entry is to be decided subject to discussions relating to the hub later on. So I'm proposing to move that to the tail end of 15.042, the facilities section. Is everybody content with that?
Yeah.
Apologies for absence.
Colin Reid, Tony Winterbottom and Mr Maskell.
And for councillors to declare any personal or prejudicial interest in the items on the agenda. None. Item 15.034, to approve the minutes of the Parish Council meeting held on the 4th of February 2015, which have been circulated. Can I have a proposal that they are a true and accurate record of the event that evening? Thank you, Marion. A seconder? Okay. Public participation is item 15.035. For members of the public to ask questions, raise any issues on items included in the agenda. Items not included on the agenda but requiring discussion may be included on the next agenda. Please note that public participation should be for a period of no longer than 15 minutes. Each person shall speak for not more than 3 minutes. This section of the meeting is not required by law to be minuted. Any members of the public wish to speak?
Yeah. Can I ask why you've changed this to the beginning of the meeting instead of the end? Because you can't obviously discuss items that have gone on during the year, because you haven't had the meeting yet, and we can't discuss them before you've discussed them.
That's SLCC advice. The Society of Local Council Clerks advise, in actual fact, that it should happen before the meeting, not even as part of the meeting. So we've kind of compromised by moving it to there. But that is best practice, that's where they advise to do it. So that we're trying to adhere to best practice.
Right, so that actually nobody can discuss anything that you're not discussing, so, yeah. Okay, just another fob off to the public. Thank you.
I think I'm right in saying, Madam Clerk, it can be brought forward. If you have concerns about the meeting this evening, it can be brought
It goes
up
forward to
at
the next
month.
one.
Any other members of the public wish to speak?
Yeah, I just need to say something that was discussed on everything Aston cleansing last night. There's concerns for the terrible parking, morning and evening, by the school. I think it's Twitchell Lane, and was wondering whether double yellows might be sort of a deterrent.
On the junction with the main road, particularly?
Yeah,
or
well, I thought it was just the main road, but apparently it's the other end as well. So it'd be New Road, Twitchell Lane, isn't that? No,
Green End
Street.
Green End Street.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so all in the school area.
It's quite
quite bad when they park on the fountain, because nobody can actually see up the road.
No. Well, in view of the new housing sort of proposals, I think it's best to think about it now rather than later, otherwise there's going to be more footfall and more cars, isn't there? That's it.
On the Brook Street College Road update, were you aware that a traffic survey was being undertaken on that junction today? And it seems a bit strange that it's that when the planning application has already been approved.
Can you reply to that, Liz? at
Well,
all?
I don't know, because we know that it was spotted today, we know that somebody was there. I mean, I can talk about that, the Brook Street thing later on, which you don't use, so I'll talk about the calling in bit later on. We can only assume that perhaps, my guess would be...
I understand that the company that were undertaking it said that they didn't know who they were doing it for.
That's
It
right.
seemed very bizarre, I thought. But
I can only think now that maybe it's being done for another development further down the lane, because they are looking at the next field, aren't they? So maybe they're looking at the traffic survey for the next field. We don't know who it is, do we?
GMEC from Manchester. My husband stopped and talked to them.
Very sensible. There's one thing that I've raised the last couple of meetings, was whether or not the Parish Council had had time to consider yet any donations to Sir Aston Clinton to assist us with our...
It's actually on
That's
on
on
the-
the
It's an agenda, sorry, okay.
But if I may just add a comment based upon the traffic things, on the latest development, which we may be discussing later, that goes right the way round behind the Baptist Church to the corner of what was Slaughters Farm. I read the traffic survey or traffic report that proposal includes. It's lies. From beginning to bleeding end, it's lies. Talking of the few number of vehicles around the place, showing empty junctions at Chapel Lane and Green End Street, showing empty here and empty there, and the road junctions are perfectly capable. They're lying, and I get so inflamed because I can deal with logic, I can deal with reason, but not with these turkeys who just come out with a load of stuff to impress people who don't even live in the village or come anywhere near it. They're just dealing with facts and facts and facts, and oh, that looks all right, pass it. And I think that sort of stuff should be not only carefully looked at, there should surely be a way of stopping it. Put your case, but not downright lies. Just take a look at that, just out of fun.
Councillor Chappell, sort of draw you in.
I mean, traffic surveys are always done at a time to benefit the developer.
yes.
If you were a developer, I suppose that's what you would do. But at the end of the day, they don't come and really do a traffic survey when the school is turning out, when you're taking your child to the school or whatever, because they're going to have the maximum number. What they're interested in is declaring what the minimum number is. I don't disagree with what you said.
That's what they've done.
It is not the truth, and they slant their information in order to help them. I don't know what the traffic survey was down at today, but anybody can put in a planning application, and therefore if they're putting in the planning application, wherever that might be, what part of that will be a traffic survey. They're entitled to do it, but they haven't got to display who they are, you know?
But they mask it with a load of spurious mathematics based upon these observations, which I said are lies, and the mathematics makes it look ever so scientific. This formulae and alphanumerics and all sorts of stuff, my golly, he must get it right. It's nonsense. I just thought I'd make the point.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair to take, I mean, when we put in our objections with Cara and myself and other councillors, we try and go down through and count the cards and be factual in our writing and in our letters. But it'll never marry up to the developers' figures because they're not interested in normal. They want to get away with murder.
Carol will correct me, but I've got a feeling Arla did theirs during the school holidays, didn't
They did indeed.
they?
Yeah.
Members of the public, are we done with this? Thank you. 15.036, matters arising. Item 1, lamppost on Uprick Mill Way.
Yeah, I haven't got any further with this because I'm still waiting on the police incident number. UK Power Networks won't come out to it unless I've got a police incident number. You're Mr Sharp, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember, the police must have attended that lamppost at the time because...
Well, I would think so. I don't know whether Marion knows more about it, but I mean, it was done some time ago.
Well, it was actually because Jill phoned me about it, and I got in touch with Emma Dufresne because she lives next door, and she'd actually taken a photograph of when it happened, and she said it was last July. Which
I was hoping to have it, you know, so we could make a decision tomorrow.
I know,
but
but
it's still-
I only told you, I could only
Yeah.
give you that yesterday.
If anyone has a date of when that incident happened, I'd be very grateful,
I'll
because it
ask
would
her.
narrow it down.
Yeah, I'll ask her if she can be more definite on her, because she said she's put it on her
I
camera.
mean, the
She did have it.
police have gone into, they've had to go into 3 sets of data now. They're now going into archives, because it was more than 6 months ago. So, but it's in hand.
Well, if I can find out anything.
Did she say she photographed it?
Yes. But
Yeah,
she,
well, the date on it.
well, she said she didn't have the date. Well, I'll ask her
It was a
again.
digital one, wasn't it?
The date on it.
Yeah, she said she didn't have the date. She was just July. But I'll ask her again because you thought she'd had the month, the daily. Isn't she? Yeah.
I would have thought the fire brigade would have attended because there was a fireball there. It must have been a bad fire.
Perhaps I'll try then.
Well, it was actually. So it's the woods caught fire. So.
Leave it with me.
Well, I'll try and find out some more information about that.
The second item I'm going to delay until later. Item 3, Brook Street and College Road update.
Yes, I'd like to hand over to Liz if I may, because she knows more about it than I do.
Okay, fine. Basically, what's happened there is Preserve Aston Clinton Village Environment wrote to the Secretary of State asking for him to call it in under the powers that he has. And he has confirmed that they are looking at calling it in to accepted it for the first stage. Calling it in means that if they accept it, it will go back to the council to be re-looked at again, or the Secretary of State may make a decision themselves. We're hoping for the latter. And if they may actually turn around and say that the council have no authority any longer to look at this particular thing. And there have been a large number of the same things written in all about Western Turtle. So the combination is, I know we've quoted Hampden Fields, but the hope is that the Secretary of State will look at it and think that actually the District Council is doing such a bad job, they'll call in everything. Which could mean that the decision is overturned and the 91 are not built any longer. And we don't know any more than that, but we do know that much so far. And despite David Whittington publishing something today saying that he called it in, it is not true. He supported us, it's true. We approached him after we wrote to him. Well, I think that Phil Yerby might have phoned him, but we got a letter in before David Whittington actually did anything.
Is there a risk that this might be caught up in the election?
There is a risk. One of the reasons we wanted to get it in so quickly was because there's a stage when politicians can't do anything running up to the elections. But they have written to AVDC and said they can do nothing further, so it can't be developed. Nothing more can happen on that.
There is a timescale in which they've got to respond to PACV, though, isn't there? I think.
They've responded, haven't they?
Oh, right, so
So
that
now,
is treated as the response, is it?
yeah. So that, but I can't believe they leave it sitting there. But either way, it means it is stopped for now, which is something that nothing can be built on there. No further, nothing. Aylesbury Village Council had a letter saying nothing more can be done at the moment until the Secretary of State made a decision. So for now, it has been stopped. It does mean that we weren't sure how, because the rules of the calling in things are quite complex, and you have to. One of the things is you have to be able to show has an impact outside the village, and so we had to have a sort of argument about how these decisions were impacting other areas. But I think we have an argument. So obviously it succeeded, but we didn't chuck it out. So it is a success. We just wanted it to be a bigger success where they actually changed the decision completely clearly. What we've also done, though, which is not that Brook Street, is the other Brook Street, it's now public, so I can mention it, is we have lodged an application for judicial review of 7 and 9. And that application went to the High Court on Monday. It has to be done within 6 weeks of the appeal, the decision being made by the council. It did, I got it in. Again, we've done that ourselves, we haven't used anybody else, happily put it in. And we don't know, the first stage of judicial review is that the High Court has to look at it and decide whether we have a case or not, and if they do, then it goes to judicial review. At that stage, we're a bit stuffed because we haven't got any money. We've done all the first bit ourselves. We've done everything, all the High Court lodging ourselves. But once it gets to the High Court, I haven't got enough experience to go and stand in front of a judge and planning application. It's not my expertise.
That probably comes on to the next item. Sorry, Councillor Covey, you wanted it.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's been numerous letters gone up about calling the item in. Cara and myself wrote the week after when the decision was done. I don't think David's trying to claim that he was the one to do it, but we got to go through our local MP in order to get, and I do know, and I've seen the copy of the letter that's gone from him to Brandon Lewis, who is the administrative steward.
There was a press release issued today when David Linton said
I don't know,
because of my calling in it started. And,
well, it might have been
right.
he meant at his levels. I don't know, but I mean, you know, I don't think anybody's trying to claim it. I think what we're saying is it is a multi-decision by many people to ask for this to be dealt with by the minister.
I'm afraid that for once I would disagree on that. I think if we hadn't done anything, it would have nothing would have. I think if PACV hadn't got involved, it wouldn't have gone. But it's not a place to debate
We
that.
voted as well. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So item 4 is a donation to PACV. The council was asked to consider a donation to PACV, and there is a motion on the agenda. I'd like to amend the wording slightly. Rather than the council agreed, it should read to agree. A donation to the Preserve Aston Clinton Village Environment Fund. Can I ask who moved the motion?
I did. I followed on from the minutes from last meeting that we were asked to consider it, and I think it was pointed out that we had, before my time, that we've donated to the Hamden Fields appeal, which we did. And so that was the
It wasn't very much.
We did.
But I think it's, so when I went through the minutes, I picked it up to say that we shouldn't forget it and have it on this meeting.
So are we voting on, are members proposing to vote on a sum of money, or just the principle, to then just subject to a sum being put forward at a later date?
Does anybody remember what Hamden Fields received?
It wasn't very much.
Are we talking about, was it about £100?
So yeah, it was a gesture.
I think it was £150 if I remember rightly.
Oh,
but
you remember,
my
so
memory may
not
not be
enough.
correct. It's not a lot of money, but
But Jen, you're putting the motion forward. Do I have a second for the motion?
I think it's a lot more local than Hamden Fields, isn't it, you know?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, that we must. I mean, I don't know how much we can afford or how much. I think we must have something.
Well, can I suggest that we leave the amount for a later date, but just agree the principle that the council will support?
When do you need this?
Well, we don't. I mean, there's actual minute in time. We don't need any more money for now, but we will need money for just review, and we need money for perhaps further legal fights going forward. All leaflets and stuff have been funded. All our experts have been funded so far. I think that's right, isn't it? And we've got a small surplus, but we've not. We'd had hoped to raise about the same amount as Hamden Fields raised in total, which is about 50,000 or 60,000, I think it might be. And we're not getting. We're not doing. We've got some, and some people have donated in the village, but it's not a huge amount yet. It will roll in eventually, I'm sure.
all donations greatly received.
Indeed, anything at all. The larger the better.
The principal motion is a good idea, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have a seconder, please? That's Paul. In favour? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
$15,037 will be very brief. There is no chairman's report this month. 15,038, the clock.
yeah, I've got loads. We've, in my office, I've been trying to work on some campaigns that people seem to want in the village. The first being dog fouling. We've had an increasing amount of complaints, massive actually, about dog fouling. So I linked up with the village school, and the children have designed a lot of posters to go around the park. And many thanks to Leslie Ronson actually, who's been putting them all up all over the village. I think what we need now is for people to be vigilant and be brave to approach anyone that they see not picking up. And if we can get photographic evidence that we can call that in and people can be fined, I think maybe 1 or 2 examples of that, and that would make a big difference in the village. But at this time of year, people walk their dogs in the dark and then don't bother to find the evidence. The elections are coming up on May the 7th, along with the general election. We're inviting people to stand as parish councillors. We need 12 or more people to stand, or there won't be an election. Those candidates, if there's less than 12, will automatically become councillors. So it's just to say the timescale. The nomination papers are due to be delivered here around the 16th and 17th of March, and they have to be submitted by the 9th of April, so it's quite a short time frame for doing that. The criteria for standing as a candidate are outlined in this booklet, if anybody would like to see that, if anybody's interested and wishes to be considered. And if you can email me, because I can then get the nomination papers out to you as soon as I get them, which is the week after next. So start getting those rolling in, please, from tomorrow. Yeah.
No, Clark has this electronically, so if anybody would like it in that format, just email in, please.
Yeah. So my final bit then comes on to the pavilion. So I'm going to try and do this with the computer. As you know, we've had a survey going on in the village for the future of the pavilion and what the community would like to happen with that. And that closed off today at lunchtime. We had over 300 responses, which was really good. I think more than I expected anyway. So I've had some help number crunching from Mr. Savigar, has helped to prepare the data. So these are really preliminary findings at the moment, because it was literally only at lunchtime today. I'm going to ask, I'm going to give you one of those, and I'm going to ask you to be my glamorous assistant and hold up the thing if the computer doesn't work. Bear with. Yeah, I doubt people are going to really be able to see this enough. But
No.
bear with, we've got some nice graphics coming up. At any rate, so there were 315 responses. Of which 281 were online and 34 were in paper form. So this first one is, what sections of the community do you think the pavilion should be focused on? And the winner, if you like, at the top is sports clubs, but coming close second to that, mother and toddler groups, followed by private functions. So that was the data on that.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, can you, if I pass it down?
Yeah. There's a spare one here, which probably might ask. So, secondly then,
You've got 2 oaks.
this one, what services do you think should be provided in the pavilion? It was overwhelmingly in favour of a cafe with a limited range of refreshments. That really outran everything else. Followed by a public bar or rooms for hire was also fairly popular. Then the third question was, what do you think would be the best management arrangement for the pavilion? This was overwhelming actually. That's the hybrid model, which is where the parish council works with a partner organisation. I'll pass this round to you. So that would be us working in conjunction with a partner organisation, rather than a private individual taking it over again, or us running it solely by ourselves. And then it got quite difficult because the next part was to do with people's written responses, but this is a word cloud, and it picks out the main... A word cloud. It picks out the main words that have come in the responses. So you can see community is the big word. There. How do you see the pavilion developing over the next 5 years? Another word cloud. Community, village, local centre, groups, events. Those are the main words that cropped up time and time again in people's responses. And we've got one more of these. Please provide any additional comments to help the council with this survey. There were masses, absolutely masses, and we've got them all, and I'm not even going to try and go there tonight. So this is just community, local, village. That's what's been picked out. So if anybody would like to see this.
Page 2, please. Page 2. We are passing them around as you've got one.
Stapled together.
Is it not possible to put it on the website?
Absolutely. It literally closed at lunchtime today, so we've not had time to do that. But yes, it will be going on the website. So just before I finish then, I obviously am not going to talk about any plans for the pavilion. Councillor Savigar will do that later on. My job was just to present those findings.
May I say very well done from the floor?
Oh.
In 6 hours you've done a super job.
Well, thanks to Mr Savigar, he did the hard work.
You took credit.
I'll take the credit.
It's your job. You
While you're in full flow, 15.039, correspondence received.
We have a new way of doing this. This is the recommended way of doing it. I know you will love my booklet. It's only got 3 items in it this morning. There were 2 complaint hearings about us again at ABDC. I'm not required to go into that at all, but it's in here for anyone who'd like to read that. There is also a printout of an email from Mr Disbury, who's here this evening, about all the housing developments, which I think we will be addressing as we go along. The other thing that's started to happen is people have started to come forward and say that they're willing to do little bits of volunteering. So what we'd like to look at over the next few months is maybe forming a volunteers group for things like litter picking in the village, leaflet distribution, whatever it may be. But there's one particular gentleman wrote in about that. So I'm going to pass it to you, Councillor Wallace, first. Who's got last month's one?
Never even had it.
That system's
Don't look at
working
me.
well then.
Yeah, I've had it.
Have you got it?
It's you.
No, I...
You got it last time. I disagreed with the meeting.
You've got it.
So I was requested to bring it to
The idea is that it saves time in meetings with me not reading out the correspondence.
Thank you. Oh, it's a quick, and I gave it to Jill, didn't I?
Oh, I've passed it on long since.
At the facilities meeting, I gave it back to you.
Yeah, I've passed it on long since.
Well then,
You've got it.
It's only up to
That's a conversation.
speed things along.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll investigate that after the meeting.
I'll have to have an EGM for that, I think.
Members, 15.040 finance and staff. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've circulated various charts. We spent a bit more than I'd have liked in February, but can't do much about that. Income remains precious little, £100 in February. Our bank balance is just over £24,500, which in some ways is almost better than I could have hoped at this point. I'm not actually thinking there's a huge amount due to come out in March. Yes, there are. There's the payments to be made, including global enforcement. I haven't done one for a while, I apologise, but I've done an analysis by budget for this year, and you'll see that miscellaneous clearly outranks almost a lot together. Unfortunate. Finance is to be agreed at the end at this meeting. If I could remind you that the list at the top half that have got dates on are monies that have gone out of the account, not without our approval, but they're just things like direct debits, dual salary and stuff like that. But they're listed there for completeness. The bottom half, without the dates, are the ones that we are formally looking to approve. I haven't got much comment on any of those things we can't kind of avoid.
Can I have a proposal that those payments are approved? Thank you, Joe. And seconder? Okay.
Vice Chair.
In favour? Unanimous? Thank you.
Before I get on to the motions there, I wonder if I could just make a few comments on things that came up at the finance meeting. We're still investigating with Thames Water this rather large invoice. I think Jill is optimistic that they may kill the £1,000 odd figure, so that would be good news if they did. We've got a lot of confusion about VAT. We stuck in a claim and knocked off the amount that the HMRC double paid us. They claim they never got any paperwork from us at all, so they're seeking some money back, and Jill is again dealing with them, trying to sort them out. ABDC have advised that because of the fairly high precept increase that I put something on the website to that effect. I will do. What is on there at the moment is the detail that we use to assess the precept. In fact, there's very little difference from the figures that we finally agreed, one or two, but I'll put something on there. We were supposed to have a meeting with last year's internal auditor last week, but because Jill was ill, it's been put off, but that's now on schedule. We'll try and understand what the hell's going on there. Barclays are making a great cock up of the bank mandate. They just do not know what the right hand and the left hand are doing. It seems that the bank mandate team have instructed our branch, which is Hemel, to get in touch, and they just haven't. As simple as that. I'll skip on that one. Now, there are five motions, and I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if you want to take them as one group or do them individually.
I'm happy to take them as a group unless any members want to have issues with any particular one they'd like it separated out.
We can read them all out.
Can I just run through them briefly, if I may? We have decided to move to a different internal audit company. Jill's contacted two. We've decided on one called IAC. This was on recommendations from other local parish councils. I'm content. I'm sure it'll be a lot better than last year. Yes. We are going to employ a cleaner to come in once a month to service the offices here, 20 quid a month. We were content with that. On a technicality, we're having to bring forward Jill's appraisal. It technically falls on the 11th of May, when there isn't a council, and we feel it's our obligation to do that appraisal before the end of this council. So I'm planning to do it towards the end of March, and to bring any recommendations to the 1st of April meeting, which is our last meeting. Okay? I think we've got to take that responsibility and not pass it on to the succeeding council. We really need to recognise the amount of work that Jill is doing, and we are saying we would wish to increase her contractual hours to 25 per week. I hope this doesn't cause us any problems. It's just a statement of reality.
It's what I've been doing anyway, to be honest, just formalising.
Well, I should stress we have obviously consulted with Jill. We wouldn't move ahead on this without doing so. And lastly, we want to appoint a temporary assistant for 4 hours per week for 3 months. A lady called Sarah Mitchell, who is an assistant clerk at Wendover, to support Jill through a number of little sort of peak workloads we can see coming in the next few months. I am suggesting a figure of £15 an hour.
Is that acceptable to the other party?
We haven't approached the other party. I think we have a little bit of negotiating room if needs be.
It would need to be less than that,
No,
I think, for her to agree.
no, but I think that's our
Because
starting
it's such a
position.
small amount of hours,
Yeah.
isn't it? Perhaps if you put a cap then.
Well, we
when I
might be able
talk
to
her.
mess around with expenses, so.
Right.
But if we're content as a starting point, we will work on that basis. That's all I have to say now, Mr. Chairman. I'd be happy if we took them as a bulk and
Are you prepared to propose?
I would happily propose all 5, please.
I'll second that. And can I have a vote, please? Unanimous? Thank you, members.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
15.041 planning. Report recommendations for planning committee. Chair of the planning committee, the absent here.
Yeah, so's the vice chairman. So there's me. What have we done? If anybody's interested, oh, I've got a few copies of this, it might be easy to just pass it round. Well, there's Michael learned from the back as well, isn't there? There was the 95 dwellings off Chapel Drive which we objected to. The culvert, we'll wait for that to be pegged out before we decide, make sure we're happy with that, where it's going. Mason's Meadow was a change from agriculture to employment which we haven't objected to. Nursery use through certificate of lawfulness, that's old Callahan's, which we haven't put an objection in. A couple of proposed extensions which we didn't. The only other one was 7 dwellings here, isn't it?
Parkview.
Yeah.
Parkview, because Tony's not here. We have objected to that on the number of dwellings and the tree preservation orders, and we're just waiting to see.
I have objected to it now.
We have objected to it, yes.
Okay. Colin told me, sorry, because I'm a part of...
Well,
on
Colin's
that
put
committee,
it
but
through
make
now
it
before he went away.
But he wasn't going to object, he told me at the last email I had.
No, what we actually said we wouldn't object if there was 3 dwellings. It's the number of dwellings we're not happy with. I think,
5.
was it, well, Colin told me 3. But it could be 5.
5.
Was it 5? Sorry, 5. I'll have to check the email you sent me. Problem is, if you object to everything in the village, AVDC are just going to look at you and say,
And I agree. I mean, I said,
But
in my email I said...
I personally don't think we're going to get away with it. With that development, that side, I think it'll happen anyway. So I think it's go down.
The only reason I
Think
said in my
resistance.
email to Colin that we should object to everything now is because there is so much in the village.
Well, there
we can't
is, but
sustain
then-
more. I mean, in a normal situation, I agree.
Yeah,
There'd
if
be
you
no real
object
reason
to
to
everything,
object
the
to that.
council have got to turn around and just say,
But if you think how many they're proposing to build,
Yeah,
it's
7
95 in
is-
Chapel Drive, and you know, it's
yeah. So
they're clearly
yeah,
going to build some houses on Aylesbury Road. We'll try to just keep, you know,
So
Hal's
that's-
clearly going for it too.
about where we're up to with it all at the moment.
That's why I put it on.
Can I just ask a question? The one objecting to the 7 here, in portion of the land they want to build on there, how is that in relation to the land here on the old pavilion?
I never saw, I don't know what size that was, if I'm honest with you.
I just wonder, you know,
Without actually somebody digging out the old one for that, I wouldn't like to say.
is there actual plans, or is it just a 7? Is there actual plans? Well, there are actual plans for 7.
Yeah, there is sort of, we did have a plan, didn't we?
That was, yeah. that
Yeah,
was-
it's still over there.
I've got to be honest, personally, I think what you just said, your words you just said about it, I think there's certain developments as a village we should not object to. And perhaps that's one, just on the fact that we need to not object to everything, but I can see, also your point as well, that at the moment, because one of the costs, we need to be, you know, objecting to everything. It's a bit of an awkward one, I think, that one.
Well, that's why we need a village plan, isn't it?
But
So
we
that
did
do
do-
have,
Yeah.
That's why you need a plan.
yeah.
Well, the other thing obviously is the letter that, you've seen the letter that Tony's put together, haven't you?
And
Yeah,
it was all
yeah.
sent round today.
It was sent out today. This is
Yeah, I've got copies.
the proposed letter that Tony's put together to send to AVDC, Susan Kitchen, wasn't it? Who's going to give a copy as well? I don't know who's. It's only a draft at the moment. We've got to approve, consider and approve the wording of this. Have you seen it?
Do members want to do that now, or do you want to review it offline and put any amendments and corrections into the clerk?
That's not a bad idea. We need to get it off as soon as possible, don't we? Really.
But can I suggest that if everybody, there has been an electronic version of this circulated.
Yeah, today.
If everybody reads it, puts whatever amendments, changes, etc. in, get them back to the clerk by.
End of play tomorrow. We can get it off Friday then. can't we?
Friday,
Yeah.
I would say Friday.
Well, we can get it off Friday, couldn't we?
Okay.
Well, I was just thinking if,
Okay.
we're working
could do
Friday.
that. Yeah.
if you could then take the amendments
Friday
in,
morning for then. Okay.
circulate a final draft
Yeah.
for approval. Members happy? Content, sorry.
I think that was it, wasn't it, Jill?
Is neighbourhood plan on there? No.
No,
No.
because,
Well, we know it's ongoing. It's
well, Colin's doing it, isn't it?
it's
But,
gathering
yeah, I
pace
just-
actually,
yeah.
isn't it? It's all happening. So.
Do we have,
Sorry, does anyone want to see the spreadsheet of the planning applications? That's the spare one.
I've got a few of them here if anyone wants them.
I don't think we need a motion. I think it's in hand.
are you done, John?
Yes, sorry.
Thank you. 15.042 facilities. How's this other go?
Starting off with grounds maintenance, we have had invitation to tender out over the last 3 to 4 weeks now, and we've had 5 tenders, sealed tenders, that have been received for the grounds maintenance contract. We will be meeting and opening all the tenders on Saturday morning with Jill. And at that point they'll be going through an assessment process to look at obviously cost of what people are going to be charging us for the different areas, and value for money and all the other things that we need to look at. And then we will be bringing those to the facilities meeting decision on the 11th. We will, I have actually given Jill a request today for Mr Chairman to, we will need an extraordinary meeting after that facilities meeting to gain full council approval, because it will be such a large contract. But it's good news that we've had 5 considerable tenders. They're all, I think 4 have been electronically, haven't they, that are in a sealed area on the website, Jill?
Yes.
And one is a paper
Hard
version.
copy. Yeah.
So we will be assessing those.
Well, having said that, the hard copy may be a copy of
Copies on them, yeah.
all of the emailed ones, because I can't open it. I don't know who it's from.
So
But a minimum of 4 is still good.
that's good. Several people have been shown round the park by councillors and by Adam. So hopefully we'll get something in place. The grass is beginning to grow. footpath refurbishment project. Dave, where are we on that?
I need to arrange a meeting, so I'll do that.
The culvert update, there has been a site visit with Bucks County Council and some councillors, which was on the 18th of February. The issues appear to have been resolved, mainly the question of whether or not how high the bund was going to be and whether or not it was going to impinge on the football pitch. But the clerk will be obtaining written confirmation and then obviously they've applied for planning permission as well. So. And then there'll still be pegging out so we can be assured that we won't have to be moving the fitness equipment, etc. The bund is supposed to be 18 inches high and it will be in the rough grass. So that's good. The litter picking, have we had a reply from the Scouts?
Yes. Yes.
Can I hand over my rubber gloves?
No, because I've just emailed the paperwork to them. Because I only got hold of Jeremy last night, so I emailed him the paperwork and told him I wanted to start as soon as possible. I don't know whether that's going to happen this weekend or not. But there's enough of us down here Saturday
But in
morning.
theory they think it's a good idea.
Yeah, in theory, yes, definitely. Want to do it. Want to go for it.
Well, that's excellent. That's excellent.
I'd just like to say the wording, I just emailed over to Jeremy to make sure he was happy with it. So we're all happy with it, and then we'll go. We'll get it
That's
started.
good news. It'll mean that the Scouts will be receiving a charitable donation every month.
Explorers.
Sorry, the Explorers. So they're all old enough. They will be receiving suitable training and all the rest of it. That's really good news. Sports and recreation, the playground inspection has been completed, very minor repairs to be done. We have weekly inspections. We have to inspect this weekly and sign a book to say that we're doing it weekly to conform with our insurance regulations. They're being done on a rota basis by the councillors. Hopefully.
May I say there are quite a few gaps in the roster.
Mine's pretty full, but I've got in front of me. There's not a good one.
Anybody would like to fill in a week?
We'll do that before we leave this afternoon, this evening, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen.
Just there. How do we feel about volunteers? Sort of that are known to us and so on doing that, or would we rather keep it to?
But that,
Yeah, just the weekly.
I think that should be
check.
kept to the council.
Well, I think from that week,
From the insurance point of
view,
view.
of time, I think we could at least do one each. And then
I think from the insurance, I think if it was the council that did it,
You may be on slightly sticky ground.
we could be.
Okay.
We had basically mud baths on at the entrance to the playground area. I think it just got so deep. There was a danger of a toddler disappearing in it at one point. So that's been filled up with playground quality bark, and that's soaked it up quite nicely. So we won't be losing any children in the park over the next few weeks, which I was worried about. We've had a temporary coffee van in the car park. I appreciate comments about that. That certainly there's no litter around, which I was pleased about, and people seem to be happy. He's been there now 2 weeks. We said we would give him a month's sort of temporary agreement. Has anybody got any thoughts about that?
I think he's happy to come along. He's benefit. Getting us through a little stage while sort out for you. To me, it's great.
Jill did wonder if the facilities offered were enough. Didn't you, Jill?
Well, I did have one phone call saying, you know, the kids who play football might prefer burgers and chips and that kind of thing, but...
Well, I moved around a lot with my boys and played football, and
you don't get anything.
There's no tea or coffee in the majority of places.
Right.
Okay, so
it's
for us to have tea and
nothing,
coffee, it's better than nothing. So.
Excuse me, wouldn't it be a good idea to use the hub as a cafe again for this sort of centre?
We're coming on to that.
Okay, sorry.
We've had 3 water leaks in the youth club, which have been mended. I think nothing in the last couple of weeks, is that right, Jill? No. So hopefully we've got to the bottom of that. And there seems to have been quite a few acts of vandalism with the football equipment. We've had chairs set on fire. All sorts of things have been happening. The dugouts are still on the main football pitch, and it was tried to move them, but because the ground has been so wet, it completely churned up all the ground, so they have been left there. But I've been late here doing the flipping bins, and the kids are kicking them, piling on top of them.
I have to say, it has been a thorn for a number of years. You know, there have been agreements with the football clubs to have them. They should be taken away every Saturday.
It's so difficult when the ground's so wet.
They should carry, there's enough of them to carry them, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think it's 11 men theoretically, isn't it, that can carry them back.
And they're dangerous, they're heavy.
Yeah.
And if they fall over onto some child, you know, there's going to be a terrible accident.
So I think that there's a meeting planned with the football club to discuss that, and also there's a dirty great big hole in the Astro pitch, and I mean, the children just pouring in and out there, and they've no right to be there really. They're not, you know. So I think we're going to have a meeting with that subcommittee and just have a look at a few things. Moving on to the hub pavilion. The questionnaire has been a great success, and in fact the comments, nearly every person that did the survey put very constructive comments on there, which I'm hoping will be published on the website. I would have thought they could be. Really good ideas, and it just goes to show what people are thinking of and what they expect. We're going to analyse that survey data in greater detail over the next week, and hopefully get it out there for everybody to see. We're having a facilities meeting next Wednesday. We're going to develop an outline proposal for the way forward with the building.
Is this meeting open to the public next Wednesday?
Next week? Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Looking at the corners of the place, which we've been doing, obviously we've been in and out, sort of making sure it's safe, making sure we're not going to have any problems with burst pipes, and working our way through the legal side of things, which is still ongoing. There's a lot that needs doing in that building. It's an elderly building, which I'm sure has great affection and has had great usage over the years. But looking at the results of the survey, it's become apparent that maybe we need to think bigger and better for this village.
Agreed.
When that was built, the population was less than half of what it is now. There are lots of different funds that we can apply for funding, and I think with all the building that we're getting, it might be the time to think big and think bold about what we could do for this village. So we certainly will be looking at our meeting next week and sort of examining exactly what people are looking for, and trying to accommodate as many people as possible. Do come to the meeting next week, and hopefully by then the data will be out and people can see the comments and see their own comments on the website, and have a really good think, maybe think outside the box. We need to think about what we're going to do with the building in the short term, but also in the long term. But that's still in very much the infancy of talk and decision making, so I think we'll probably leave it there, if that's okay with everyone.
Can I just ask, we haven't heard anything about people that have offered to take it on or do something with it?
We've got a whole book with expressions of interest that Jill is keeping.
Can we not chat about those as well?
I think there's a lot of people interested actually.
There are a lot of people interested.
Local people.
Yes, a lot of people are interested. But it's whether or not, I haven't looked at any of those in detail, none of the committee have. I think we're waiting until we get the building sorted legally, we wanted to wait and see what people wanted in the survey and see what the public feeling was as to which way, we could, you know, what people wanted to have out of
Seems
it.
to me there's a balance here that where we need to, somebody's got to invest in that building, take it on and run it as a business. Presumably, that's probably the obvious way to look at it. But we can't do that unless somebody's prepared to do that. So we'll have to offer them a solution as opposed to offer the village a solution. It won't necessarily be what the village is asking for, because somebody needs to invest in it. It's chicken and egg.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, the problem you've got with that building is that there's quite a bit of work that needs doing on it. Structurally. If you actually look at it, if you look around the front of it, all the windowsills are coming away.
I don't deny that, but we're not hearing about those people
No.
that are willing to take it on.
Excuse
And
me,
I'd like
have
to
you
know
had
more
a
about that.
structural survey done, have you?
Sorry?
Have you had a structural survey done?
There has been a structural survey done last year.
Have you got the reports on that, have you?
We have access to reports. yes.
Okay, I'd like to see those.
But you don't want to be in the same position as you've been all these other times where people are in money. It's rented out from under the council and they keep
Well,
lying over it.
yeah, I mean, certainly, you know, talking around it as a committee, it's actually a difficult proposition to keep it, to make money out of something like that and keep it running throughout the year. Which is why if we get a multi-use of the building, you stand more chance, I suspect. We need to discuss it further.
I'd still like to hear who's offering what.
I think one of the things, Paul, the clerk from speaking to the clerk in the committee was that it's just a sheer workload. It's not allowed her to really put a lot of time into it. That's why we brought this other lady in. We're going to task her with certain projects. And one of those projects will be to look at all these options. Just physically do not have enough time to do all this work.
Yeah, absolutely, but also in the interest of fairness and balance, I did come prepared with all of that this evening because my understanding was the process was that we gathered the data first and then formulate a policy from that. So I didn't come prepared with all of those this evening. And I wouldn't like to highlight one or two in fairness to the many who have sent proposals and they're still coming in daily.
And no one's been asked for any either.
But presumably we can see them through emails through the week. Is there any reason why we can't?
If you wish to,
I just think it informs us.
It's not information that I
Well,
could
you could scan them in.
withhold, but I mean, give me a little time to collate them properly. But I will say that there is everything from a one-man band who can do a pop-up coffee shop type of thing to people who have offered to take on the lot, as it was before, so, and everything in between.
But not a
We've had
spa.
offered.
Not a spa like the casual vacancy.
Can I just suggest that the clerk circulates for members' interest,
I
the
think
proposals that come in?
absolutely, I can do that. Yes, I can't promise it this week, but early next week, perhaps ahead of the meeting. If
I was just going to say, if it could be done ahead of the facilities meeting on Wednesday.
I mean, it doesn't really matter what we want if nobody's prepared to deliver that. We need somebody prepared to deliver what we want, and that's difficult. That's chicken and egg.
Well, I
So
think
I
a
think
lot
we
of
need to
people are
understand.
prepared to offer what you want, actually.
Well, I'm not sure that we've defined, the councillor's defined exactly what we want yet, so.
Sorry?
We're not making any decision. We're just looking at what everybody's, you know, this is the whole point.
Yeah.
That we would talk to the community and see what they wanted, which they've certainly said very loud and clear.
But my point is, Jean, if we narrow our requirement, we will put a lot of people out of the market. They won't be interested. We need to think broadly, and we need to expose what's been offered by those people that have money. So I think we should, as the chairman suggests, distribute so we can look at it early.
I mean, the only thing I would say is that the people that have sent things into Jill, they've done it on their own back. We haven't sent an invitation out to him. Do you know what I mean? To the general public.
Well,
so people may be
I'm still
thinking
keen
that
I'm
they
still
need to be
keen to
asked.
see what people are offering.
it will be, by the way, of a snapshot then of the kind of things.
We have an
that
empty
are-
building sat there. It's
Exactly.
The next
I need
stage is business plans, I think.
I need to just say one other thing, that the legal issues are not going to get resolved too quickly.
Well, after those
I'm
legal
afraid.
issues
How long do you
won't take so
anticipate the
long.
legal things going on for?
Sorry?
How long do you anticipate the legal?
Stop interrupting.
I'm so sorry.
Public session is actually finished, was finished at the early part of the meeting. Members of the public aren't, unless they're invited specifically, not allowed to normally interrupt during the course of a meeting.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, or would you like me to say some more?
No.
Thank you, Julie. You're
Yes,
finished with
so, I mean, as I say, we will be having our facilities meeting, looking at all the data, and the legal issue, I mean, I don't really want to just sort of enlarge on that, or would you want to leave it?
Well, I can't say too much, unfortunately, but it's not as straightforward as people think, and it is going to take some time. We're not in a position where we can make any sort of decision at the moment, unfortunately. That's about all I can say.
I think what we've got to do with this, well, we've got this time, is to use this time wisely. And, like Paul says, look at all the different options, look at these different bits, and be ready for when we can move, that we've come to a decision.
Okay, so that'll be ready time for next Wednesday. That really moves the agenda item that we brought forward with regarding to ALF. Really postpone that. Because without one
I
thing, we
think
can't
so.
do the
What do
other.
you think? Because that really comes under facilities.
What do you mean, the ALF thing?
Their application to their application to us to be supported.
We may, I mean, in a nutshell, we may need that money. The Section 106 money, from what I can gather, is available for Aston Clinton because obviously we have this building taking place. But if another party applies for it and gains it, then we don't have access to it, it's gone.
Was this from the chat we had the other night, last meeting?
Yeah,
I
the
don't
lady
think,
from Green.
yeah, I don't think we can agree to anything that she was suggesting. You know, enthusiastic, but it seemed to me there was a massive limitation on the exposure to the Aston Clinton village.
Yes.
And she couldn't guarantee that. I mean, there was a flippant comment of, I think it was 1 day a month. Well, for me, that's not good enough. If we're investing in Green Park, the village has an entitlement to enjoy that investment.
Yeah.
And if we use Section 106 money, then it'll be free for everybody at any time they wish.
Exactly, I think
It's in a public place, isn't it?
it's, we need to prioritise towards the majority of the village, not a, despite it being a charity, but not effectively a private venture.
I'd support Paul on that. I think the amount of money that we have got at the moment, which is about 15, £16, but what they want is just a small drop in the ocean. We'd be better off spending that money somewhere else in the village where we can actually do some real proper
Yeah, we can all see it then, can't we?
Well, exactly, you can see it. I mean, I don't know what it'd be, but at least we could see something for where I don't, you'd just get lost up in a maths project, which we wouldn't benefit from.
Thank you, members.
Mr. Chairman, is Amanda looking for some sort of formal response? Do we need to bother to go to a motion, or can we pass back just a considered view of the parish council? No.
Well, she hasn't chased me, but I think she should have a response.
I think so too.
Interesting.
Well, I think we should say that, you know, we are hoping to need the money here in the park. I mean, if we got the building down, I'm sure we can rebuild it, can't we? 15,000, that's a bit towards it. But no, I mean, it's a charity. You're giving money to a charity, which is all obviously sort of into charitable things. But at the end of the day, it can be sold on, can't it? That charitable thing. I mean, Butts County Council might not rent it out to them then, you know.
25 years,
Yeah.
so 23 years to run.
Yeah.
No, I was just got to say, at present, we can't commit to that.
Members, can I have a proposal of how you'd like this?
Our motion is unsupported, Chairman.
Yeah.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Jeff. Those in favour? Unanimous. So I propose members to then strike through the motion at the bottom of the facilities heading, to consider and agree a proposed way forward, because we're not in a position to do that.
No.
15.043, business for the next meeting. Does anybody have any agenda items to be included?
Can I just ask, Mr Chairman, can the clerk get in touch with the builders or organisation that's building in Stablebridge Road? They seem to be taking a liberty on the public highway and pathway in terms of the movement of lorries and the redistribution of the field into the public road.
You can't go to Stablebridge.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. I agree with you there.
and there's not, I think there's clearly from my observations, lorries being up on paths and side
Yeah,
and
it's
dirges.
such a mess around there. It's all been plowed up.
Oh, right.
I think they're laying the pipes at the moment, aren't they? It's not even the builder yet.
Yeah, yes,
I don't think it is yet.
it's facilities are being
Yeah,
laid.
yeah, it's easy enough to find out.
It's on the gate, can't call that call.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any else, members? 15.044, date of next meeting, which will be
First of
the...
April.
Time is 8:35. Thank you, members. I declare the meeting closed.